Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Cloak and Dagger. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break things down bit by bit. Obviously, first of all, I do appreciate the fact that eventually, Ty pops up at the church. So Tandy showed up at his school last episode. Now he's showing up at her spot. It's like, oh, so we're doing this. It's just like a thing now. But obviously, I'm going to break everything down. First we'll focus on Tandy's side of things. She ends up kind of faking being an assistant to Nina, because for her it's all about getting closer to Nina for the purpose of trying to find out more about her dad. And I'll go ahead and talk about it. And I think that is such a fascinating thing. Nina ends up saying it later on. It's like, you could have just told me the truth. And it's like, it never even crossed Tandy's mind to do that, which is kind of sad. Even caught her off guard, because even Nina's like, really? It didn't even cross? She's like, yeah, she spends so much of her time lying to some people, everyone. I mean, the only person she's honest with, in all honesty, is Ty, which is kind of crazy. I mean, technically, they're the only two that can be 100% honest with each other about what they're up to, what's going on with them, because they're the only two that can understand after everything they've been through, all their connections and stuff like that. But even I was like, man, that's actually sad that you've lied so much that it's just become a habit to you that you didn't even think about, telling the truth as being a possibility, you know? But obviously, she gets close to Nina. Because even Ty kind of brings it up in the beginning. He's like, oh, why don't you kind of, make a friend? Because you could actually do with having a friend. She doesn't really have anyone. I mean, other than Ty, once again, there's no one she really has. She doesn't even have Liam, because he's in the circumstances he is, and we don't know where their situation really stands right now. But, and all that time she spent with Nina, it was kind of fascinating, because, for her, it's like, no, she's just the mark, so that's all that matters. But she spent time, especially when she had that moment where Nina was like, yeah, my dad said Nathan never made a mistake. And it made her smile, because for the first time in such a long time, someone was like, no way, this is Nathan's fault. Nathan never made a mistake, and it made her feel happy, because for so long, she's always been told ever since that incident with the rig, she's always had to hear people badmouth her dad, saying it was his fault, this all happened because of him, he made a mistake, blah, 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 all this is on him. And just to hear someone else say it wasn't him, it was refreshing, especially coming from Nina, who, her dad Ivan was a partner of Nathan's, working on the rig and everything. But also just everything about Nina, just her personality, the fact that she's so caring about everything. The reason why she's working with Roxanne is because she's legitimately trying to make the place a safer place, trying to restore a lot of the world. The whole B. Arthur situation with the flowers and stuff like that. Because even I was like, Golden Girls B. Arthur? I thought the exact same thing Tandy did, but it's like, no, it's these particular flowers. I even love the conversation about, kind of making the comparison to bees. And because of chemicals and stuff and that's so depressing too. It's because of the chemicals and stuff like that, they actually lose their way home, which I'm sure if you actually break that down and think about it to an even deeper level, you can make the argument, man, that applies on so many levels. Just because for Tandy, she's kind of up in the air, she doesn't know her way home, because she knows her way home, but it's not like she goes there that often. She's kind of been lost along the way. Her mom's been lost. Make the argument the same thing could apply to Ty. Even the fact is, what happened, Nathan kind of lost his way, and the accident happened. I know that's a huge stretch, but I'm saying like I said, that's just me reading too much into it. But I don't know, I thought that was just kind of a fascinating thing. I even liked that, you could tell even little by little, the more time they spent together, Tandy really started to like her, because once that douchebag Stan started giving her shit, calling her a bitch and everything, Tandy made sure no one's watching, and she flattened one of his tires with her dagger, which is yeah, even though she's a mark and everything, you're not going to talk about, Nina like that, because she sees what Nina does. Nina's a smart girl. She's very passionate about what she does, and she really cares, And it's interesting, too, because we learned a little bit of information. We ended up learning, in fact, that what they were drilling with the rig all those years ago wasn't oil. Apparently, whatever it was, it burns hotter than oil. So it's most likely either the people at Roxanne knew what they were actually digging for, because whatever it is, it's even hotter than, oil. It burns even hotter. So it's whatever that is. Maybe whatever's in there is what's connected to what gave them their powers. Part of me wonders, what kind of material could that be? I mean, it's the MCU, so maybe that's something else entirely. I wouldn't, all the way in New Orleans, it can't be something connected to the incident, obviously the events of Avengers. It has to be something else entirely. What exactly? I don't know. Must have to be something else all on its own. Must be some kind of Marvel thing of oh yeah, this is buried somewhere and it gives people, I don't know. Because it's because something gave them their abilities, or at least kind of awakened it and shaped it into the form that is in the way that it is for them. So the question is, what is that substance down there exactly that they've been digging up? Like, and once again, going back to what I was saying, like, how much did they know? Did they know ahead of time what they were digging? Did they not know? Because the fact is, because the thing is, like, why would you lie if you didn't know? You know, why would you blame Nathan and be like, oh, it's just an accident, some miscalculations and stuff like that? It's like, no, Nathan must have thought you were just digging for oil. Him and Ivan must have thought that. But Roxanne knew exactly what was down there. They just didn't want to tell anybody. And admitting what happened would have admitting that what's down there, they don't want anyone else to know. They want to have sole control over it for whatever purpose. And maybe they know more about it, like kind of what gives Tandy into either abilities. Maybe they figured like, oh, this material could be, maybe they don't know about the power thing, but maybe they know like it can be used for other stuff and they want to profit off of it and make it so that they're the only ones with the resource and no one else. I mean, that's typically what happens in these type of things with like big corporations like this, especially a big corporation that's willing to kill people just to cover its own ass, you know, and throw one of its employees under the bus like they did with Nathan. So it seems like, could we end up finding out quickly enough about Ivan's situation? They don't have to worry about him. Whatever, because they can still blame it all on Nathan, and Ivan's in the condition that he's in, which that actor who plays her dad, God, he's from The Mentalist is the thing I best know him from. Isn't it Cho from The Mentalist? I was like, yeah. It was kind of interesting. Like, even in his state, he's kind of humming this one tune. I don't know whether that's 100%. Was he actually saying that? Or was that actually just all in Tandy's head because she actually touched him? She ends up seeing a yellow door, and she tries to access it, but she couldn't because it's covered in darkness. And so it's like, to get through that door for whatever reason, she would need Ty's help. I guess maybe it's a situation of like, maybe you can make the argument, maybe it's kind of like a destiny thing where it's like, no, you're not ready to go through that yet. Or maybe it's just a situation of like, because of Ty's ability to read fear, where she reads hope, that door is blocking fear, and so that's why only Ty would be able to access it, because she can't access fear, she can only access hope. And there might be a vice versa in a situation where coming soon, like, there might be a door only Tandy can open for Ty, you know, so it might be that kind of like need each other type of thing. So that's immediately where my mind goes. So it is kind of interesting because Nina, she did kind of quote unquote fix the drill. She basically made it, she's got a new valve and everything, and she's got it basically so that it can withstand hotter temperatures and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's definitely gonna be interesting. I doubt Nina's really gonna tell anyone that she ran into Tandy. Maybe she'll unknowingly do that, but I doubt Tandy told her everything, because definitely from the conversation we saw, Tandy didn't tell her everything about what's going on that she thinks there's. She just said she wanted to know more about her dad and stuff like that. So I also do hope on some level maybe they do walk away from this being friends, even though she lied and everything. It's like they still bonded and everything. So I know I completely forgot to talk about it, and I thought it was such a nice moment where it's like oh, like I thought her dad might be dead. In Nina's case, because she kept avoiding the subject, it's because she didn't want to talk about the condition her dad was in. But the fact of the matter is, when she, like, Tandy's about to touch her hand, and then that whole bee situation happened, like, it made her change her mind, because it's like, I think at that point in time, she didn't want to just take the information, because it's like, she likes Nina, and it's like, you're a good person, and I think kind of what Ty had said before about kind of crossing that line, kind of invading, taking a little something from people, it's like, no, like, she wanted, like, Nina to give that information over voluntarily. She didn't want to just like, because like most people, it's like most people she kind of ends up doing that to might be people she doesn't 100% trust, or people she thinks are kind of a little dickish. So I don't think she wanted to do that to Nina, because once again, she liked Nina. So, but on the other side of things, we tie in with Ty's story, which kind of ties into O'Reilly's story and Connor's story. So Ty tries getting a job from Wayne, but it doesn't work out for him, which, because you can make the argument it is because even with what Wayne says later on, I think he is still trying to protect Ty, because it's like, oh man, you don't want to be part of this world. You got your own life, which is like, I think on some level, there's a part of him, like, under the circumstances, him working with Connors and stuff like that, he didn't want to get Ty mixed up in this. Like, what happened to Billy, so I don't want it to happen with Ty, so he wanted to kind of keep him out of this world. But Ty's trying to do whatever he can to get a job there, because that way he can find out more about what Wayne knows. Follows the dude around, and it was kind of an interesting thing that when the time came, his power didn't work when the dude pulled a gun on him. So, because even at this point in time, Ty still doesn't have a complete handle on his abilities. Part of me was wondering, is his ability kind of evolving to the point it kind of works a little differently? Because it's interesting, because Tandy initially initiated hers actually with fear. Maybe Ty can his is kind of activated out of fear, and so has Tandy's. You know, it's kind of been like a knee-jerk reaction of just kind of like, oh yeah, trying to protect yourself, or you know, it's just, you know, or, you know, essentially a rush of emotion is kind of triggers it. But it's like, what if that ends up being a key for him? It's like a moment of pure hope kind of finally activates his ability. I don't, like I said, for now, it seems like fear kind of kicks it in, but it's not 100% perfect because it kicks in later on, but it just kind of jumped all over the place before it finally hit the mark, you know? So that's what I'm thinking about. I mean, maybe until he gets the cloak, he will never fully control it like that. I mean, he'll probably can, but it'll probably give him a lot easier control over it with the cloak and everything. Because prior to this, I'd never seen him outside of the cloak. Like, obviously before the show, like, I'd never really seen his power outside of the cloak. It's always been underneath the cloak and everything. Nevertheless, he ends up following the dude around. The bag gets dropped, and he uses that and takes it to Wayne. And he's like, oh, trying to get a job from Wayne. He's like, yeah, I already know what you're up to. But Wayne kind of breaks things down from an interesting point of view, where it's basically like, New Orleans is made of people, is made from, it's all about survival. It's like that's how he survives. It's like some people aren't as privileged or in a situation as privileged as Ty, and that basically like, oh, you just kind of have to survive, and everything, like, the world always gives back. It don't give back right or fair, it just gives back, you know? So I'm kind of basically saying essentially karma comes back and swings your way. But what I thought was so interesting, and I caught it myself, I was like, wait, did he just, and when he was like, yeah, like, but when they finally talk and everything, he's like, yeah, about, you know, yeah, the fact is you stole that radio back then and you jumped in the water to save Billy. Even I was like, did he just say, and even Ty caught it, it's like, wait, what? Because how the hell did you know that Ty jumped in to say, it's like, no, you didn't just know Connors killed Billy just because you found out later on. It's like, no, you know, because you were there. And it's like, you've been quiet this entire time. And that's the saddest thing. It's because it's like, you've known this entire time. Ty's grown up most of his life making him feel like he was crazy. That police officer making him think like, oh, you know, you're kind of crazy. His parents thinking he's crazy, that he made it all up. Even he thinking himself was crazy. But then like after all these years running into Connors, you know, made it kind of like, no, I'm not crazy. This is all real. And then there's the whole aspect of like, you've kept quiet all these years. Just say something. But for Wayne, it's like, no, this is all about protecting what's mine. And it's kind of sad because it's like, maybe Ty would have been eventually able to kind of get through to him. Maybe eventually be able to convince him to like, oh, come through in the end. But at the same time, it's like, who knows if that ever would have worked? I mean, because even for Wayne, it's like, even the ties between him and Billy, it's like, yeah, he was my friend and everything, but he's dead. Like, what is me going to tell the truth do? It's about getting him justice. And even he says, like, justice. Like I said, he said to himself, this is all about survival. And for him, like, outing Connors, so all that going to do is backlash on him, because for one, it's going to bring his business down, the only means of making money, which is like, you know, that's your main reason for this. Also because he knows if he takes Connors down, that's just going to come back on him and get him killed. So it's like, why get myself killed trying to get justice for Billy? Billy's gone, but for him, for Ty, it's like, yo, but that's my brother. He helped you get to where you are right now. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't even have all of this. So why are you saying all that, you know? But like I said, even with that opportunity, like, I mean, it didn't even, because, you know, like I said, it did affect him, because at no point in time, because he just told Ty to hide. At any point in time, he could have told Connors about Ty, and they just could have dealt with it then. But it's like Billy dying, yeah, that sucks. And like, no matter what he says, like I said earlier, like, he cares about Ty. He doesn't want what happened to Billy. Yeah, he's taking advantage of this situation because he's trying to get what's his, you know, trying to live, trying to make money, trying to survive. But so Billy is one, you know, situation where it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of happened. It's already done. I can't do anything about it. Ty, at the very least, is still here. I can make sure that at least he lives. So, you know, like I said, he does have his own way of looking out for Ty, but you can make the argument that's why he's so adamant about doing it, is because he's felt guilt over all these years for never saying anything, even though he was there. He saw it. He knew what went down, you know? I mean, to be fair, like, Ty never actually looked into what was in Wayne's heart, and sadly he'll never get the chance, because I was curious to see what was going to go down with that. I thought the whole point was to take down O'Reilly, but no, it was about taking down Wayne, because Wayne's a loose end, and now Connors doesn't have to worry about that being all tied back to him, because he knew that, like, O'Reilly's pushing buttons. Like, because he talked about the whole, like, getting inside of a criminal's head. Like, he probably got inside of O'Reilly's head. He knew exactly what she was up to. Like, when she got Wayne, he'd be able, once she got Wayne, she'd be able to tie it to him, and that'd be a whole thing. And it's even a dude that O'Reilly is with even warned her, like, don't get near Connors. He's flammable. Because everyone, it kind of got everyone's attention what O'Reilly was doing, essentially. Kind of got Connor's attention. Unfortunately for her, you know? So she ends up shooting Wayne because Wayne was set up to, so like I said, it's hard to say like how that was really going to play out. Maybe the whole point was for Wayne to end up shooting O'Reilly, and then, you know, he'll kill Wayne because that way he has nothing to worry about. So I don't think it was just setting him up for her to kill Wayne. Maybe it was, but I feel like it was supposed to be like two birds with one stone situation. But then Ty being there complicated things because there was a witness and stuff like that. So now he's going to try and spin it. Maybe he always planned to spin it in the first place. I don't know. It's hard to say. But like I said, the one person that could tie this all together, it's kind of gone now. And so this screws over both Ty and O'Reilly. And, you know, when he finally gets away at the end, Ty breaks down because for him, it's like the one person who can tie this all to Connors, prove it, is gone. You know, other than that, it's like now it's his word against Connors. O'Reilly was there and everything, but still, and now it's like someone's died because of this whole situation, and now he's also her only lead to taking down Connor. So it's like there's nobody, which also means this whole operation is his alone. Kind of interesting enough, and I think it's such a powerful moment at the end when Ty goes to the church, and I think that speaks volumes because where's the one place he goes? Because when they're at their most vulnerable, they always find their way back to each other. Like they said before, the universe pushes them together, and pulls them apart. And then Tandy's trying to be there to comfort him, but she can't get too close because it's like her powers won't let her. And I was like, that's sad. You want to be there for him, but you can't, you know? Plus, it's like, I think it's also because Wayne was kind of a friend to you, but also because it's like, once again, I think it's also because Ty did probably think that if given enough time, he could have convinced Wayne to tell the truth, you know? So I think that's kind of like the double stack against him in that regard. Really quickly, I forgot to bring this up earlier. It was kind of fascinating is that actually it seems like maybe they can kind of push their abilities on people, like use them to kind of influence people, because we kind of see it in this episode, because when the guy's about to pull out his gun, Ty touches him and obviously sees his fear, and there's two doorways for him to get out, and Ty blocks both of them, so leaving him kind of trapped there with his fear. And when we kind of come back to the real world, like he's so shaken with fear, he just runs away. So it's like, I guess that's kind of his subconscious, like trying to run from the fear, but Ty kind of blocks him in. And so that fear, like that feeling of fear kind of resonates throughout his body. Like maybe that's kind of, it's hard to explain like exactly how that would operate. Maybe that's one way of looking at it, but maybe it's like Ty can summon up that fear. Like once seeing your fear preventing you any way to go, he can just basically rise it to the surface. And no matter what the circumstances, kind of make your fear kind of almost like, I was going to make a comparison to a DC character, kind of like a Scarecrow thing, where it's like your fears kind of come, maybe kind of similar thing. At the very least, maybe not in a more physical, like psychological sense like that, more of just an emotional sense of like that feeling of fear can just emanate, like to the bubble to the surface, make you feel it. Maybe Tandy can do the opposite. Maybe she can bring people's hopes to the surface. I mean, obviously her and Ty aren't supposed to really touch because their powers would kind of explode, but maybe that could be something that eventually happens, like I said, to help him get his abilities under control. So, which is interesting too, because Connors saw what Ty did just like disappearing. So it's like what that turns into, I don't know. That's going to complicate things because he's probably going to track down Ty and then start because he can't even hang around Ty's family or get near. I mean, he could threaten him and stuff like that, sure, but it's like he can't present himself to them because like not unless they blocked it out, because it has been a couple years. Maybe they don't want to think about it, but you know, a cop fitting the description of the dude that Ty said killed Billy, you know? And it's kind of interesting. This turned in a way I completely didn't think was going to happen. I thought what we're going to see is like, okay, Wayne bring him in and he's going to deal with that. I was like, oh man, that's going to suck later on when your parents find you with drugs or whatever happens. Like the drugs are going to be found on you. It's going to complicate things. It's like, the story did not go the way I thought. I wasn't expecting Wayne to die. Like I said, I expected him and Wayne to kind of start working. He's like, okay, you're part of this. You're in this with me. I thought, and yet, like I said, eventually people would, I don't know. It didn't turn out the way I thought it would. So. And on top of all of this, you have Vita's aunt, kind of reading the cards, trying to figure out what's happened. Like, obviously, there's been disasters in the past. She makes references to hurricanes, fire, and then there's always two that exist kind of chosen to that are supposed to like stop the coming disaster, kind of like some divine thing. Obviously, that she feels like she knows that Ty's one of them because she just feels this power emanating from him, but doesn't know about who the other one is. Obviously, the other one being Tandy, but saying that when it's all said and done, one of them will die is like. But I feel like in their case, because they are so tied, like if one dies, I feel like the other one would too. I mean, like once again, their bond isn't that intertwined, but it is to a certain extent. So I don't know. It's very interesting kind of getting that. I mean, especially now Vita knows that too. Like maybe it might get to the point she starts talking to Ty about it and Ty might tell her the truth about everything potentially. Who knows? We'll just kind of have to ultimately wait and see what happens. It is interesting too, kind of really quickly going back, because if Connors goes after Ty, O'Reilly knows about Ty, so she might go to him first because he did call her before she went into the building. So maybe that might prompt her to kind of try to get to him first, but then Connors might see that they're connected and that might turn into a whole thing in itself. We'll ultimately kind of have to wait and see what happens in that regard. Either way, I'm very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good